Imagine a power so profound, so effective, it borders on being a superpower. It can heal wounds, it can mend relationships, and transform lives. No, I'm not talking about some kind of fantasy from a comic book or a superhero movie. I'm speaking of forgiveness. Forgiveness is the superpower that when we practice it in our lives, not only will we make an amazing difference in our lives, we'll make an amazing difference in the lives of the people we love that we come into interaction with, and for the most part, the whole world. It took me a lot of years to really understand the power of forgiveness. As I've shared in some previous videos, I had somewhat of an abusive childhood, and I came out into this world as an angry man. And I felt like I had lots of times when it would be about the principle of the issue. It wasn't so much about anything else, but it was the principle that mattered. And this is why I had sunk my teeth into and would refuse to forgive, because they needed to learn. Boy, I wish I could have learned this decades earlier. My life would not only be so much more conflict-free and so much more easy as a young man, I wouldn't have burnt the bridges that I burnt by not practicing this.
There is even scientific evidence that reveals that forgiveness is a winning strategy. And the proof of that lies in game theory. Recently, there was a video on Vertesium channel that explored this idea in depth, and I definitely highly recommend you to check it out. The video delves into the prisoner's dilemma from game theory. The idea is that there are two individuals that can either cooperate or defect. If both cooperate, they receive a moderate reward. If one defects but another cooperates, the defector receives higher reward and the cooperator receives nothing. If both defect, they each receive a minimum reward. Researchers conducted computer tournaments where different programs were competing with each other. And the essence of these tournaments was that there was a sequence of such prisoner's dilemma games, and there were around 200 rounds. The results identified 4 attributes that successful programs had. The attributes were being nice, don't defect first, being forgiving, meaning that the program can return to cooperation after the opponent was defecting in the previous round, being retaliatory, striking back if your opponent's defects, not being a pushover, and being clear, meaning you wouldn't change behavior constantly. Those tournaments showed that those strategies that had these attributes, they were more successful in the long term because they led to cooperation, and as a result, the outcomes for all the participants was higher. Forgiveness in this context is not a sign of weakness. It's a strategic advantage that fosters mutual benefit and stability.
You know, for those of you who are Christian or have been exposed to the teachings of Jesus Christ, this is what Jesus taught. When the doctrine of turn the other cheek is a doctrine of forgiveness. It's not a doctrine of weakness. And what Jesus understood was that there was really only one judgment. There's only one judge. This is God. And there's only one judgment, and that's forgiveness. And in fact, someone at one point in my life had, let's say, recontextualized the idea of last judgment. Because oftentimes within the Christian religion, last judgment is treated as this last judgment against you. And this person had helped me understand that what last judgment was really about was the last judgment you make. You know, there's a big difference between an opinion and a judgment. We all have opinions, but a judgment is an opinion that carries sentence. And when we judge people, we typically withhold our attention, our love, our resources. We punish them somehow. We deliver a sentence. And really, at the end of the day, who are we to judge? I really learned the power of forgiveness and learned this exercise while I was going through my divorce. And not that it really matters now, but there were people involved that were my friends. And then as it was apparent that the marriage was coming to an end, I had lost those friends for whatever reason. And I was resentful. And someone had offered me this exercise, and it was amazingly effective. And I use it when I find that I'm harboring judgment in my heart to the point that I can't forgive. And what they suggested I do is this. In my mind, I visualize the person that I'm harboring resentment, the person who I can't forgive, the person who I have negative feelings towards. I visualize them. Then I visualize someone that I have unconditional love for, such as one of my children. And then I try to hold both of their images in my mind at the same time, and I start to bring their images together so that one overlays the other. And when this happens, I start to recognize the spirit in all of us. I recognize the human spirit. And I recognize that really divine forgiveness is realizing that there was never really a slight to begin with. It's what we perceived. Now, this is not an easy task, and it takes practice. And continuing this practice throughout the years has made it now where it's easy for me to forgive and easy for me to move forward, easy for me not to harbor resentments. And I know from that fact alone, just from the medical advantage of not carrying the stress of, let's say, harboring those resentments, of being able to let them go and not have that stress work on my heart or on my brain, I know I'll live a longer and healthier life, if for no other reason than that reason alone. Forgiveness is the superpower that we've been given, and that it's our choice to use at any time for a better life. You know, we're all stuck in the matrix. It's your job to find your way out. I hope what we share helps.